welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Renovators, the business advisory show for real estate professionals. My name's Chanel and this is Rex.
You got it right.
You got it right too.
That took a few goes. I am super excited about today. Today we have a returning guest. I think it's the only returning guest we've ever had, but we had to have him back. He was our first guest in season 1 and we're in season 4.
And he's brought a friend with him today as well.
Brought a friend with him too. His right-hand business partner. It's an incredible what this business has done over such a short period of time. When we last had him on, he had a monster office back then, but now it's gone from strength to strength. They've gone into a factory. They've refitted a factory as a real estate office, one of the most revolutionary offices I've ever seen. It's amazing, and we'll get the guys to talk us through it. And they've gone on a few acquisitions since. So we're going to learn more about how to grow a business from an acquisition point of view rather than just steady growth, I suppose, or natural growth. Would you like to introduce?
It would be an absolute pleasure for me to introduce Harcourts Rata Co, the R and the T, Robert Ozzimo and Tony Lombardi. Welcome, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for joining us, Tony.
No
Rob's a seasoned veteran now.
And I think before we go into it, our audience doesn't really know Tony. So Tony, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey in real estate.
Well, it's 20 years now, pretty much, so pretty long time. Obviously started out a career at a competitor, spent about 8 or 9 years there with one of our business partners, Alex Dukas. And then obviously I would say it was probably a little bit of a coup between the 4 of us. Obviously our other business partner, Andrew DeSanto, and we were able to start off this small business, which has now become a large business.
It's probably the second largest in Victoria, I'd say.
Oh, look, I mean, I'm not sure we keep up with the sizes, but it's fairly decent these days. It's a handful, let me tell you.
Yeah, okay. Got 110 staff and growing.
About
You've got
that.
6 offices and a mega office.
Yeah, so we've got 6 offices, 5 residential, 1 commercial.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you've got your factory.
We do. We call it Rata Co HQ. So yeah.
Talk to us. Let's go back to this. You gave us a great intro about how you started, but your growth. You started with 1 office only.
Yeah, obviously, we were all working for the same competitor at the time, same brand. So we knew each other around the traps. My sister actually went to school with Andrew, so there was probably a little bit of a connection there along the way. But Rob and Andrew had actually opened up next door to where we were operating or where we were working at the time. And I think it started from a conversation in a car park. So the boys had already sort of taken that leap into business ownership. Me and Alex were looking for that opportunity to be able to do that as well. And we sort of put together a bit of a deal that was meant to look quite different to what it is now, as you would imagine. And I think 6 months into that, we threw it all in the air and said, no, we just need to get this thing rolling. So it started off with 2 offices, pretty much, and then has sort of expanded from there. We're able to attract some really good people into the business, expand that business out, and that sort of led to the position that we're in now, which is 6 offices and a mega hub at the moment, which is situated in the northern suburbs of Thomastown.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start with all of this, but can we talk about the hub? Because this HQ is it's incredible.
It's an idea that we came up with quite a while ago. I don't know exactly who came up with it. A lot of the stuff that we do in our business just sort of it's like we all have an epiphany at the same time. But the idea behind it was to create a workspace where we can provide the best possible environment for culture to flourish. And so not just an office. I mean, we've got, if you walk into HQ, you're greeted by a cafe. So we've got a full-time barista that serves the staff and clients. We've got a fully fitted out gym. So we have heaps of the team either stay back late and work out, or come first thing in the morning and work out. And then we have showers and everything, so they can, no reason to go home. They can stay and get ready for the day. We've got a 100-seat auditorium where we now do all of our training from. We do, we're starting to do auctions, so in-room auctions, online auctions we do from there.
Oh, wow.
We're going to be rolling out things like client information sessions and things like that in the future. But more than that, it was just about creating a space where the energy is palpable. So if you walk through the office, it's really tangible. You can just feel the energy in the air, and the collaboration has just gone through the roof. So we have one of the best things that we've done is not separate the sales from the rentals. So we have a big working space on the first level, which we've called the bullpen, and that's the main workspace where all the senior sort of PMs and salespeople work from. And so we made a conscious decision not to separate those two teams.
Why?
Well, because I think it's an archaic thing to say that we've got PM, then we've got sales, and then treat them as two separate teams. We're one business. We work towards a common goal, which is to provide a service for our clients. And those clients, many of our clients who are landlords are also our clients in terms of being purchasers or vendors. And there was a lack of appreciation or understanding between the two departments about what one does and how that impacts the other. And that is now it's just gone. The collaboration's unbelievable. So there's much more of an appreciation and understanding from the sales, what the PMs do, and vice versa. And so whenever they need to collaborate in terms of providing the best possible outcome for a client, it's just a natural thing now that happens. There's no friction at all.
A lot of companies talk about culture. It's a word that's thrown around willy-nilly, but I have been privy to attend many of the Rata Co events, but also a witnesser on Instagram. You have kebab days, you've got multicultural days. Can you talk us through what this office has done and how that's impacted the culture of Rata Co?
We probably made a conscious decision probably about 12, 18 months ago that obviously we needed to change the way that we went about creating culture. It's very difficult to create the culture itself, but you've got to create the environment so the culture can grow organically. And I think that's what we've been able to do. And I think the having little events that happen, pretty regularly, getting the team together so that they're all in the same place, they're not separated out, and to be able to just make it fun and have a little bit of excitement, and they're looking forward to it, and then getting them to be part of that process as well. So a lot of the things that we've done, we had a banh mi day the other day, so Vietnamese rolls. That wasn't our suggestion. It was one of the guys that she came up to us and said, "Hey, I've got a friend that does this. It'd be really cool. We should do it." And so we're trying to get them invested in the process a little bit as well, and they love it. And I think that's sort of created this vibe around the office. The biggest thing for us has been probably the cafe and the coffee machine at the front of the building. I think that creates the greatest collaborative environment you could possibly imagine. At any point during the day, you could walk down there and there'll be 2 or 3 people sitting down, having a coffee, having a chat, talking about either work or what's going on or what are they doing at home or whatever it might be. And it just creates that really good vibe. And clients feel that when they walk into the office. So we've purposely placed it at the front of the office so that when a client walks in, they can automatically feel the vibe that's going through there. The energy resonates.
From a recruitment perspective, Tony.
Yeah.
I mean, the attraction of that particular office has been monumental when it's coming to the recruitment of staff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can you talk us through what that office has done in terms of attracting new team members into the organisation? Sorry, Rob or Tony, I should say.
I think the best thing it's done is it's put our current team on display. It's obvious from anyone from the outside looking in. I mean, you've mentioned the Instagram posts, and you've seen the culture from the outside looking in. So it's shown people in the industry what Rata Co is about and what what values our community stands for. And I think if we just go back to, in terms of the culture, I totally agree with Tony. The culture is people. People create the culture. It's incumbent upon us as business owners to make sure that we provide an environment where people feel safe, where they can collaborate, where they feel as though they can express themselves freely. And if you do that, then the culture does take care of itself. But we reverse engineered it by looking at the end goal, and the end goal is, well, what do we want our clients to feel? And we want happy clients, we want satisfied clients, and to achieve that end, it's important that the people that they're engaging with, which is our team members day in, day out, also feel that, because that's what's going to be passed on to the client.
It's interesting, Rob. After the pandemic, a lot of offices are downsizing, and as as we all know, that push for work from home is the number one request for
You guys gone the opposite way.
and you've gone the opposite, where you've gone, well, this is all essentially like a home. You've got a shower, you've got a gym, you've got a wellness room.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that we fell into lightly. Obviously, there was some pretty challenging conversations that we had, even at board level, to be able to come up with a bit of a strategy and what we wanted to try and achieve. And I think one of the things that we sort of sat down and worked out is that we really did want people to come back to the office so that they could collaborate with each other. It's really hard to negotiate with a landlord or a tenant or try and get the best outcome for an owner or whoever it might be when you're over the phone or over email. It just doesn't work. There's a limited number of people that I would know that would be able to do that extremely effectively. Probably a man right here that might be able to do that, but apart from that, there's not too many others. So I think it's really important that we try and create, give them the best tools to be able to succeed. And the only way that we felt that they could do that properly was to actually be in the office, to have really good assistance around them, support around them, but then to have a really good environment so the culture could blossom on its own. And I think that that's something that we've been really focused on. And we haven't just said, we've got a good culture. We haven't just said we go out once every 6 months and, you know, everyone goes out and drinks alcohol and has fun. It couldn't be further from the truth. To be honest with you, we've really focused on getting people around each other, giving them an experience, changing things up. I mean, some days you'll come in at 8:30 in the morning and I've got the music absolutely full ball through the entire office. And it is like crazy. No, I might be upstairs or something, but it's crazy music. And, you know, you have the team coming in going, oh, great tunes, that's great, that's fantastic. So you've just got to do things a little bit differently. You can't just keep doing the same stagnant thing all the time and expect that people are going to be, you know, invigorated to come into the office and feel like they're in a great space.
Tone, I speak to directors, they're like, Chanel, you know, we want people who've got a great culture. I go into the office.
Yeah.
What culture? It's just like blank walls.
Will you walk through your office and everyone resonates the culture?
Well, we walked through Rata Co together. Rex and I have had the privilege of heading to their opening night. And I mean, I think you've been modest in how you've described the office, because it's something that you can't unless you've been there and you feel the energy that's in that office. Energy about it, and the happiness of the team. They are a really tight-knit team for such a big office. And when I am recruiting for you guys, I explain your office as it's a mega office that still feels like a small family business.
I think the foundation of that culture, apart from, you know, the office and the events and everything that we do, is we're very careful about getting together as a group and identifying what it is that unites us. And it's all surrounded by, you know, values. So we just had our vision day recently. So once a year we do a values and vision day where we get the whole team together. And we don't speak about real estate. It's not a training session. It's just an opportunity for us to examine who we are as a business, who we want to be as a business, the things that we value, and how we can live those values in our day-to-day lives together. And so when everybody subscribes to that and everybody commits to holding themselves to that minimum standard, but also each other to that minimum standard, then you just see the collaboration lift, and it impacts culture in ways that you can't even quantify.
Beautifully said.
Guys, you are an inspiration to a lot of other offices. And what I love to hear when I hear from other clients and people is that you welcome people, not from just your franchise, other franchise groups with open arms to your office, happy to lend an ear to them, happy to help them, guide them. And it's you're giving back so much to the industry. So, you know, thank you.
Well, the industry gave to us first, so it's only
you know,
fair.
a lot of people would hold their cards close to their chest, especially with competitors from different franchise groups and stuff. You guys don't.
I think we'd like to try and collaborate with our peers, and that's across the network, across the state, and across the country. I mean, we've even done trips across to New Zealand to try and get a bit of an understanding of what they do over there. So I think for us, we're always trying to learn, and we're trying to make sure that we can pick up as much information as we possibly can. But at the same time, it's a bit like anything. It's a give and take relationship. So you can't just take. You've got to be able to try and give back as well. So I think that that's important from that perspective to be able to do that. And I think that that's sort of the way that we try and go about getting things done. I mean, back to sort of what you were saying before, I think the most important thing for us is it's just like anything. It's like a relationship, it's like going to the gym, it's like your diet, it's like anything like that. You've got to work hard at it. So you can say that you've got good culture, you can say that you go to the gym, you can say you've got a great relationship, but if you don't work on any of them, you can only say it.
And the
So true.
results show. Rob, one of the biggest things that has changed since you were last on is the acquisition
Oh yeah.
of
about
a
forgot about
monstrous rent roll. Can you talk us through?
Can I interrupt before you
course you
talk it
can.
through?
Yeah.
What was the acquisition? Because the story behind who the acquisition is a good story as well.
Yeah,
Because
I'll do the who and then Rob can do the what.
I think
Yeah.
it's important for Tony to do who because he has a very good connection with the business previously.
Yeah, so we were fortunate enough that our previous business that we worked for, myself and Alex and Daniel, that when they decided that it was time for them to retire, that they were obviously going to try and sell the business off, which they did, and obviously we purchased, to us, and we purchased Ray White Epping. So it's obviously a really, really big
It's like
acquisition
360
for us.
moment, isn't it?
Was,
It is
yeah.
a bit, it is a bit.
it
Obviously
just also
we started our
shows
careers there.
a lot of people that will leave an employer. There's always a bitterness, or how you kind of set up a competing business. But for you to maintain that relationship to the extent where they want to come and sell to you because they want to support you and give back is
I mean,
sentiment to you.
Look, and
It's a
I
credit
think
to
we
them too.
Yeah.
Both sides though.
I think we tried really hard to make sure that we try and keep that relationship as connected as we possibly could. I mean, it's never easy when you're obviously going out to open up a competing business in a suburb or a suburb over from where you've been doing business for the last 8 to 10 years. And especially myself and Alex, we were pretty decent riders at the time, so it was a pretty big, significant hit, I would have thought, to the business that we were leaving. So there's challenges along the way, absolutely no doubt. But I think the reality is for us is that we tried really hard to keep that relationship as close to normal as you possibly can, and then obviously that generated a call when they were ready to part ways with the business, which was a big, significant move for them. They'd obviously been there for a long period of time.
It was a big acquisition.
It was a very large acquisition, so I think all of that, probably added a couple of grey hairs in. But apart from that,
A lot of meetings.
yeah, a lot of meetings, and as you know, Rex, it was a 4-year
long
exercise.
transition, yeah.
So, and a lot of dead ends and stop signs and
U-turns.
U-turns and
Right back to when
then
we started,
speedways
sounds like,
and then freeways and highways and then a U-turn, then a stop sign again. So it's a bit crazy, but I think the key for us is that our goal definitely was to make the acquisition happen. We were pretty hell bent on trying to make it work for us and for them, and I think both parties definitely spent a fair bit of time trying to do that. And don't get me wrong, I think there was many times that we probably thought, nah, it's not going to happen, or I probably thought that, and Rob's like, no, we're going to make it happen, and then Rob's going, nah, it's not going to happen, and I'm going, nah, don't worry, it's going to happen. So there's plenty of the backwards and forwards, but I think that's probably the way that we've run our business a little bit along the way is that we've really challenged each other, and I think that there's been some really good, robust conversations that we've had along the way to be able to say, hey, we don't think that that's the right way, or this might be better, or that might be the way that we should look at it. And if I think that because we're able to have those healthy conversations and pretty robust ones at the same time, but then we're able to go to the bar afterwards and have a beer, I think that that's probably a testament to the reason why our partnerships lasted so long.
Yeah.
You're open and transparent. From an acquisition, so a lot of businesses use organic growth. You guys went and did a massitive acquisition. And
We're still big on organic growth, so we have a lot
you
of
do both.
processes
You do both
and
really
systems
well.
in our business to make sure that that organic growth is significant and consistent. But we've never shied away from acquisitions. We've always seen it as if you look at it just purely from an investment perspective, the return you get on an acquisition is profound. And then you have all the added benefits of obviously building an asset towards a retirement plan or succession plan, and then all the benefit that you add to your sales team from the natural attrition that you get from the rent roll into the sales business. The benefits are enormous. Outside of just running a business from an investment perspective, for us it was a no-brainer. So we've done quite a few over the years. The one that we've just finalised now has certainly been the most significant and the largest, but we've learnt a lot, a lot of small lessons along the way, which meant though, although this process was longer than what we ideally would have liked, it was done in the right way, and I think that the benefit of that we're realising now because we've had a really smooth transition, and the rent roll is going quite well so far.
Can you talk us through that, your lessons you've learned and how to make a smooth transition for an acquisition? Because you guys didn't just buy a rent roll, you bought an entire office, a sales business.
Well, this time around we did, yeah.
This time, and this is the first time you've done that, and you've done it so smoothly as well. But what if other agencies or directors are watching and they're thinking about acquiring, and you're all for it, and I think you're 100% right, what should they do? What is the process?
It starts with making, and Tony can speak about this in length, but it starts with making sure that your existing systems and processes in your business are ready for the extra workload or the extra capacity. So it's about working in your business first and getting it ready for an acquisition.
So if I can talk openly, because I was involved with this transaction, they had a different system. They had a prehistoric system.
Correct.
And that didn't read to your system.
Correct.
So how do you go when you're buying something that doesn't link? It's easy if you're both using the same system, it just plugs in, you're done. This was not that case, and you still made it so smooth.
Yeah. So we got them to change, is the way that you'd probably put it. Look,
But you didn't. They didn't change till after.
No, they didn't change till after. Look, I think the biggest thing with any acquisition is making sure that you've got the right mindset. And I think we've spoke about this at length at our Australian Leaders Conference not too long ago. And I think as a business, you've got to be geared towards growth. An acquisition is great, but...
Can I stop you? Sorry, Tony.
Yeah.
What does geared towards growth mean?
Everything in your business needs to be ready, as Rob was suggesting, to go towards growth. You need to have a really good team around you. You need to make sure that you're speaking to your broker and your bank constantly. You need to make sure that you've got your solicitor ready to go, someone like yourself, to be able to make sure that you have someone that can check over contracts quite quickly or get involved in the deal. You need to make sure that your accountant understands the position that you're in and where you're at and how your taxes are going, and making sure that your taxes and everything are up to date, so then that way the lenders can get the information that they require when they need it to be able to substantiate the finance. If you're part of a franchise, you probably need to get them involved. Like, there's a whole array of different people that I think that you've got to really make sure have a good understanding that that's going to be the plan. And then once you've got that plan and you've done that internally as well, and you know that that's what you're going to do, then you've got to start gearing your business towards it. So you've got to make sure that your superannuation payments are all made, that your tax payments are all made, you've got clear tax portals. All of these things are going to affect your ability to be able to lend money, but it's also going to affect your ability to be able to purchase something that might show up tomorrow. So just because you don't have a proposal or a possible acquisition today doesn't mean that there's not going to be one there in a week's time.
You need to be ready before the opportunity presents itself.
What about staffing? From a finance, legal, accounting, you've got to set up. But when you're acquiring something, you may not have the right staff members to do the acquisition, to grow it, to...
Well, I mean, obviously that's why Chanel came into to effect with us for this particular one too, because we went pretty hard on making sure that we could recruit prior to the
So you did the recruitment
acquisition.
prior to?
Yep. So we had people in the business and operating under our systems, making sure that they were ready to go, so that if we had and this was a larger portfolio, so we knew that there'd be some attrition. We just didn't know how much. So we had a number of people come into the business, learn the processes way before the acquisition was actually going to settle. So then that way there we could have someone available if we needed a property manager or we needed someone to do certain tasks throughout the business. So I think understanding that, and part of that is, like I said before, having the right people around you and having a good support team, and that's recruiter, solicitor, accountant.
That's lovely.
All of that
really
sort of
kind
stuff
of
to
you.
make sure that you've got you've got everything ready to go.
Well, when we talk about the Rata Co community, it includes the people
of
that we do
course.
business with, as we view them as part of the team.
Of course.
That's really, we
and
felt
you
that
guys
at
are
your
We've always
opening
felt
night.
that.
It's really,
And I think if you're going to try to pull off a large acquisition like that, to try and think that you could do that with just a few internal people is impossible. It's
particularly
just
that
not going to
size.
happen. You're not. I mean, you're definitely not going to be in a position to be able to effectively recruit. You're not going to be able to make sure that you've got contracts looked over the way that you should be. Your company position's not going to be in the right state if you're not getting the advice prior. So you've really got to do the groundwork first to be able to do it. But it's relatively easy. That none of these tasks are hard. You just need to have the right people. And I would imagine that 99% of directors that are out there at the moment would have all of these people at their disposal already. Or if not, if they're watching this show, there's half of the team sitting in front of us.
Some of them are not right. It's like Dan and Jerry went for 3 different lawyers.
what about acquiring a team though? Because you were, obviously Ray White Epping were always a competitive agency.
I was talking about sales team.
Well, both. You've acquired a
merging
sales team
cultures.
and
Well,
the culture of rivals. How do you integrate that together? And what were the challenges?
I think Rob's probably best placed to talk about the sales team, and then we can give you the challenges from the rental perspective.
The first thing, it goes back to finding out those common things and working out whether the people that we're hiring and bringing into the business share the values that we hold. That's number one. And as Tony alluded to, there's always going to be a little bit of natural attrition, and
How do
sometimes.
you find that though, Rob? How do you define
Well, you
that?
have to give them an opportunity. You have to give them an opportunity, and likewise, they need to give you an opportunity. So I remember the first day, we're in the boardroom or in the auditorium all together. And thinking, well, who's going to gel, who's not going to gel, who's going to make it, and so all we can do is just open ourselves up to them, show them our processes, show them our systems, but more importantly, show them who we are as people, the values that we stand for, and hopefully they see that those values and those standards permeate throughout the entire team. And I can tell you that we've had a very good buy-in, especially from the sales team. The sales team is now flourishing.
In your first week, you did 50 listings?
We did 65.
65 in a week.
65 listings in 1 week. And
impressive.
50% of that was brought on by the new sales team that came in. So we have 5 or 6 new people. And again, it's there for them in terms of being able to buy into it, but we've got to make sure that we're leading by setting that standard and living those values.
You had an amazing culture. You've introduced a competitor and the entire office, the entire team into your culture. I still managed it.
At the start, there's always going to be that friction when it was impossible to avoid.
Yeah.
And the way that we explain to the team is that there's a friction because it's we're Harcourts and you're Ray White. We were 2 doors down from each other. We've been competing for the best part of 10 years, right? And so it's important to understand that we've always looked at each other through the lens of a competitor, right? And so any presumptions we made about each other was always through that lens, and that's a biased lens. So it was important, and again, I know I keep going back to the values and everything, but that's what's so important. It's important that we recognise that we're not competitors anymore, and we have to focus on the things that we share in common, because it's those things that we're going to unite us as one team. And I can tell you, the people that have come over and that have given it a go and come with an open mind, I like to think that they're better for it, and that's not to take anything away from the Jerry and Danny and the old business owners, but I think that they recognise that their business was at a point where their people needed more, and if you recognise that and you're not in a position in your life to be able to do that, then it was the right thing for them to make sure that their people were left in good hands, and we need to live up to that every day.
Oh, it's lovely. And property management?
Yeah.
The culture of property management is probably a bit different to sales.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
and systems and processes will be all different.
Very different.
It is very different. I mean, look, we had some really good processes in place already. So I mean, there's a really good team and our team leaders across the property management sort of business are pretty involved on a day-to-day to make sure that they can, perfect everything and get everything right, and everything was really being worked on pretty hard to make sure that we had it ready to go. So when the acquisition came on board, it wasn't too much of a transition. And look, you're always going to, as Rob mentioned, you're always going to have people that are going to come into the business, new people within the business, and some are going to flourish and they're going to love it, and then other people are going to say, look, it's not for me, and move on. That was probably not as many as we probably thought. There's a few people that might have been a little bit closed-minded in terms of wanting to come along and try out something new, but the team that have made the transition are loving it. It's definitely challenging for our existing team, because you're bringing in another 20 odd people into the business, a team of already 80 odd, and you get questions, and there was a lot of discussions around it. But look, I think it's just understanding your team and being able to sit down with the ones that you feel that need that little bit of TLC and wrap your arms around them and explain to them the situation and how things won't be different and things won't change. And there's going to be small changes. Of course, there's small changes even if we wake up today and it rains outside. Like things are going to happen. But there was not really going to be any significant changes other than adding a few extra team members to the team, which we were doing on a pretty regular basis anyway, because we're always sort of growing. So it gave them a little bit of confidence around that. And I think if you went to any of our team now and spoke to them, I think you'd find out that they're pretty happy.
A small detail, but something that stood out in my mind, is when the merger first happened, when we merged the two teams together. Feedback was, oh, but we do it this way, or you guys do it that way, and now it's, we do it this way, or we do it that way, and I know that's only a small detail, but to me it's an indication that we've got that buy-in, and we're truly one team now.
Yeah, it's amazing. How do you manage a team so large over so many offices with a HQ?
We still don't know.
It is difficult.
And maintain your culture.
Yeah. I think that's a benefit that there's a few business partners and that we're all in sync. So in terms of workload, it's shared. In terms of the sales team, although large, is broken into sort of groups.
Geographical areas.
And certain directors are responsible to certain sales teams, or vice versa. In terms of the rentals, we have two team leaders. That Tony runs the team leaders and vicariously the team. So it's just a division of duties is how we do it.
And you guys, it's not just the four of you. You promote people as well. There's a succession plan for you internally, and with someone joining your team knows that they can become partners as well.
Yeah, I think it's important for us to be able to give especially really talented people within the industry an opportunity to come into something that we feel is pretty special, and we feel that we've been able to attract really good people because of that. We've also been able to hold on to some really, really talented individuals that are very, very good at what they do, purely because we're able to offer that. So I think there's probably a balance that you've got to try and find around how you make that happen. But we're not afraid to be able to make changes to the business. And I think one of those things that probably we've probably seen over our experience as real estate agents is that there wasn't a lot of change at the top end. It seemed to be same directors for long periods of time, no sort of changeover in shareholdings or anything like that. And then you see agents sort of chop and change from place to place. We've got a really good retention, and we don't tend to have too many people come and go, especially with our top end sales guys. We tend to find that they stick around, and there's a good reason for that. Some of them are now shareholders within the business, which is handy.
Update your shareholders agreement frequently.
Yeah, which is good. And then there's
complaining.
and then there's key people within the business as well that we've been able to secure and lock down as well. So I think there's a lot of benefit from being able to have that sort of vision. I think we're in a position where we really want to expand, we really want to grow. So if we can make that pie just bigger and bigger and bigger, if some of that goes out to external, it goes out to shareholders, and they can have a bit of that action as well. Fantastic.
Yeah, and as I was joking, but I meant it. Like, you guys update your share, and I do a lot of real estate,
Yeah.
more than anyone else.
Yeah.
You introduce partners more frequently than anyone else.
I think when we look at changes in our business, we think about how it might impact everything. So it's important.
It's very calculated. I'm not saying it's not.
Yeah.
It's just,
And I think you'd agree, Rex, and you've been a big part of guiding us in that way. But when we look at one thing, we consider the impact on the things that we might have done. Yeah, they're done and dusted, and we think that they're sorted. But then you've got to pull it back out and say, okay, is this still relevant? And shareholders' agreement, or unit holders' agreement, rather, in our case, is certainly something that needs to reflect the business always in its current form. So if that form changes and there's a change in unit holders or shareholders, then our agreements need to reflect that. Otherwise, you can't rely on them.
exactly. And,
What about a perk? If you don't mind me asking a personal question, you mentioned grey hairs from the acquisition, but all I see is two very handsome, very fit young men in front of me. How do you
Thanks, Chanel.
maintain it all? The business, you both have beautiful families, very healthy. You know, at the gym, you seem to be able to do it all. How?
Alcohol? No, definitely not.
You don't drink
No,
much.
I don't. Probably no alcohol. That's probably the way. Look, I think for us, I think it's really important that we work in a pretty high, intense pressure sort of environment. So I think you've got to try and make sure that you look after yourself first before you can try and look after somebody else, because it's just impossible if you're showing up to the office every day and you're lethargic, or you don't want to be there, or you're tired, or whatever it might be. It doesn't really help. So I think everybody's going to be different on how they deal with that and how they get themselves to the office to be, I suppose, the best person that they can be. For me, it's obviously I have a pretty strict sort of morning routine, 6 days a week, up at 5 o'clock, and doing all the fitness stuff and trying to eat healthy, and to really prepare myself to be able to get myself into the office and make sure that I'm available to the team to be able to do what they need. And then, for the family and, for the weekends and to do all that sort of stuff.
It's hard to do.
I don't know.
It's never not going to be a high pressure environment. We're salespeople at heart. We're still salespeople now. That sort of age-old saying that you wake up every day unemployed is probably something that's sort of stuck with us.
Inbuilt anxiety constantly.
It's how do you deal with it realistically?
Correct.
It's not so much I'm sure that everybody's got pressure and, things going on in their lives, and there's always a curveball that gets thrown in, and something that's, catastrophic or detrimental or whatever it might be. But to be able to, I think, have a really good routine, I think, is really important. And I think once you've got that down pat, then you can start to deal with things that come along that might be left field.
For me, it's I think it's important to stay physically fit and energetic. Not obviously for the business, but also I've got 3 young kids, so I'm trying to keep up with them too. When it comes to the pressures of running a business and the stresses involved in that, I think for me it's just my philosophy in life. I like to think I'm a little bit of a stoic, and so I don't see things that happen in the day as innately good or bad. It's just things that happen in your day, and you deal with them in a methodical way. You focus on whatever the problem may be, the aspects that you can control, and you put your energy into that. I've never really spent too much time worrying about things that are outside of my control, because those things aren't going to change, and me giving those things my attention and my time is wasteful.
Very
Wise
good words.
Yeah.
Had the pleasure of knowing the two of you for what feels like a lifetime now, but what is it, close to 6 or 7 years?
I think it might be a bit more than that.
Might be a little bit long.
You're de-aging us.
Yeah, oh wow.
It was way before COVID.
We'll take that.
Well, yeah. Anyway,
was.
let's say close to 7 years.
Yeah.
And the growth that you guys have had whilst remaining humble, and the partnership that you have with Daniel, Alex, and Andrew as well, is, unless you've witnessed them all together in a room, it's something extraordinary, and each of you brings something so unique and exceptional to the table, and I'm so incredibly proud of both of you and the journey that you have. Parting words before we finish up: what does the next 5 years look like for Rata & Co?
Oh, look, I think there's some pretty big things on the horizon for us.
Like what, Tone? Are you going to spill anything?
Yeah, no, look, we were actually having a chat about this yesterday, actually. And I think one of the things to really look at is that we set these goals or these achievements or whatever it might be in front of us, but we seem to get there and then just smash through them and keep going. So what it's going to look like for us in 5 years' time is probably not even, we don't even know. Okay. So we've got some goals and we plan out and we do all that sort of stuff and get ourselves right. I think the big thing for us is that we've spent a lot of time getting this acquisition in place and getting things bedded down for that. I think now we've sort of had a look at making sure that we can bed that down, get everything ready to go, work on the business itself, work on our partnership, work on things with our family and our kids, and do all that sort of stuff. We've all got kids, and I think we've got a family trip booked in for later in the year.
All of you?
Yeah. We're going to all get together. And,
going Cali or somewhere else?
Yeah, we will.
How did you know?
Yeah.
How did you know?
I was like,
Oh, you spoke to him.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, he did actually.
Oh, did it? Yeah. There you go.
We just came for the drinks and the food. Right?
Yeah, that's it.
That's what we're about.
Drinks and food. So, and look, and I think that's one of the things that that we've been really passionate about. I mean, you guys probably know we love we're European at heart, right? So we love to sit over a
we
plate
can't
of
get
food
through one
and
interview without you bringing up the farmers.
sit over some food and some wine and enjoy each other's company, and I think our wives love to do that with each other as well, and all together. So I think for us it's really a big sort of proposition of what it can be, even though
it already is, my friend.
I know you say that.
No,
And look,
it's
you know
not,
what?
no.
Maybe we look
even better.
Maybe we look at it differently because we're in it and we don't see it as much. And maybe it's a bit like anything. Someone sort of looks at it from the outset and goes, "Oh wow, look how big." And I'm not discounting what we've done, because I think we've done a reasonable job.
I'm always taken back a little bit when we come across somebody that we mightn't have seen in a while, or somebody that we know of but haven't met, and when we meet them, they're like, "Oh wow, you guys are doing great things. I've been watching you. You're really shaking things up." For me, I'm a bit taken back because I feel as though every day we come into the office we're just starting out. And I love that feeling. It's an inquisitive feeling. It's an exciting feeling because we don't know where the journey is going to lead. We probably don't take enough time to stop and take stock of everything we've done so far. But then again, I don't think that we're those sort of people. We're just always about looking forward, and we're always about growth. We don't know what that's going to look like. Tony put it perfectly. We don't know what it's going to look like, but it's going to be something like the next big opportunity comes along, whatever that may look like, and we say yes without realising what's involved, and then we work it out later, and then we get to the end of it and we're exhausted, and it's like, okay, what now? That's how we've got to where we are, and I think that the day that we stop doing that is the day that we need to start thinking about winding everything back. We said yesterday when we were having this conversation, you're either growing or you're dying. So as long as we're in business, we're going to be growing, and when we feel as though we don't have the appetite to do that anymore, then that'll be the time that we exit the industry.
You can tell talking to you guys what, it's inspirational. It really is. And your mindset is what's got you here. And look forward to seeing what the future holds.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Absolutely. On behalf of Rex and I, it's been a privilege
Thanks for having us.
working with both of you over the years. Thank you so much. And we'll see you on the next episode of Real Estate Renovators.